Hi. I just finished talking with Izzy, my second conversation with her, where we, surprise, surprise, dive into books, reading, language. But then we kind of take a turn into some other stuff. Her company, or her project, perhaps it is. It's called RedCheeks. The RedCheeks, I don't know about you, but I can get RedCheeks when I get a little bit embarrassed. Which kind of is one of the reasons why her project podcast website is called RedCheeks, because she speaks about intimacy, which I think is a common, it's a topic that can get a lot of it a little bit embarrassed with RedCheeks. But here we speak about how relevant it is for all of us to actually open up a little bit, to be a little bit more vulnerable, both with ourselves and with others, because that's how you get to be truly intimate. Which doesn't have to be naked in a bed. You know, there's so much more to intimacy than that. So have fun with us. We sure did. Hi.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Hello.
I'm going into my mode. Sorry.
Yeah, you're doing the thing, which is good. It was lovely. I've been reading a young adult fantasy book that I found at the library last week, and we were postponing or pushing forward our pod conversation from this morning. I stayed in bed, finished reading it, so
That's nice.
that was a very good start to the day.
That's it. I will ask you something about the book in a second. However, I want to say that seems like my current read, which is about public speaking. It's very boring compared to what you had. So sounds like
I am quite happy about. I do love fantasy, and I do love young adult, um, especially young adult fantasy. So I read quite a lot of young adult novels. And there's, I don't know, a year or two ago, I read some piece. Somebody who was speaking about how authors of young adult fiction actually, they kind of are more on the edges. They push the envelope more than ordinary, grown-up fiction do.
Can you just explain to me what is that genre of young adult?
So young adult is it is, I would say that it is, children's literature is one thing.
Yeah.
Then there's adult for grown-ups, and young adult is kind of bridging in between. So it's teen, So I don't know what the official, category is, if it's 12 to 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
But it is like teen fiction, and for some reason it's called young adult. I don't know why either. And
it sounds to me, though I don't think so, that will be the same age period, but like some of the films you can call coming of age films. So I think it sounds to me like something like this.
Yeah. And I would say that a lot of the fiction, or a lot of the fantasy fiction that is young adult, I don't even know why it's dubbed young adult. I don't know if that's because you're not supposed to like it when you're 49. Because it's not as if the language is bad or easier, or any of that. There's some really, really good, like the language of a lot of these books is just lovely.
Yeah. So what's this one about?
So this one was Victoria Aveyard, who I hadn't heard of, who
is apparently got famous 5-6 years ago for doing something that's called the Red Queen, I think, which was the series that I have now ordered from the library. But this was the first one in a new series that she's written. That the series name is Realm Breaker, I think.
Okay.
So this is the first of that one, and I read it. I picked it up at the library last week, and it was a Swedish translation, a really, really good Swedish translation. But I've ordered the Red Queen in the English to see if it's how, because usually when it's a good translation, it's good in the original language.
And
do you prefer to read in Swedish or English? I prefer to read in English for the one reason, which is that I like to use quotes. So if I read in Swedish, it's kind of pure, or I have to find the original, English quote for it. But I've, ever since I started reading in English when I was like in, 11, 12 years old or something. And since then, I've just loved reading in English too. And so I read, I would say probably 80-90% of everything I read is in English.
yeah.
I do the same. I read, when I started reading English when I moved to the Netherlands. Because before that, I actually tried to read a little bit more in Spanish because I was in Spain for many years, and to learn the language, I, of course, first started using like the language learning books. So from Polish to Spanish. This was an excellent book to learn Spanish language. I only remember that it had a blue cover, and it was quite simple, but it was fantastic. It was one of the best books to learn Spanish language, at least in my opinion, from Polish to Spanish. And I don't remember what was the author or the title. It's an old book, it was thick, and it had a blue cover. This is what I remember about the book.
But it's a fiction book?
No. So that was first like learning grammar.
It is a language learning.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then for some time I was trying to actually read a little bit more in Spanish, a little bit challenging. But I think, the more you do it, the better you become at it. So, matter of practice. And then when I moved to the Netherlands, I started reading in English. And since then, I rarely was reading books in Polish till I got my ebook or renewed the ebook. And then I started really collecting a lot of books, and some of them are in Polish. Especially, I like to read fiction in Polish. In English, I prefer more like, I don't know, like I don't know how you call that, the genre, that you can learn something from the books, or
like facts of some sort.
Yeah. I think some people may call it self-help, though I wouldn't call all of them self-help. Some are more from philosophy also. And but yeah, now when I have the ebook, I read more, and I try to read in both languages. Because you know what, funny thing, or maybe not so funny, because I started forgetting how to speak correctly in my language, because I don't speak that often with my parents, like on audio. I mean, we do it once a week, or once every 2 weeks. But it's something different than when you have to use that language every day. And if you have to use that also language with your friends who are Polish, then you also tell them different stories than the things that you discuss with your family or your parents. And for the time when I was living with a Polish friend here in Amsterdam for 2 years, then of course we did speak Polish, but sometimes we also introduced some English words because we both were like, "How do you say that in Polish? Like, what was that?" And I was like, "How do you say that in English?" And then when she moved, a friend of mine, she moved to United States, and I moved in with my partner. he's from Czech. I'm from Poland, and some people may assume that we would understand each other, but nah. And then we speak with each other in English. So yeah. So I had to start reading in Polish because otherwise,
Yeah. And
my parents.
I mean, it is, language is interesting. English and Swedish are my two languages. Sure,
Yeah.
I understand Danish and Norwegian, and I can pick up a bit of German, and and I can make it sound as if I know French, but I really don't. But I should a little bit. But it's but you're very, very right in the fact that if you don't use it, you lose it. So I would say one of the reasons why my English is so good, not why my spoken English sounds good, but rather why my vocabulary is so good. Is because I have read. I mean, I read a lot of books. This book today was, I think, book 98 for the year. So
Wow.
I read a lot, right? But
how many
also,
hours? How many hours a day do you spend reading? Because then I assume
that depends. Today I was in bed for 2 hours reading, or 3.
Oh,
because it was, I could.
Okay. That's really cool. I also tried to read more, especially that came after Alt MBA. When they send us the book.
They sent you the book package, I haven't done it, but I've heard about the book package.
Oh, I loved it. I loved the book package. The books package. And the books were great. And since then, I just started. I have a lot of, you cannot see here on behind me, but I have a lot of books around here, different books. And then therefore I had to buy Kindle because I couldn't anymore keep collecting so many books. Like I started slowly running out of space. It's a small apartment. So I got that Kindle, and now I'm floating my Kindle with the books. So I have quite huge collection there. So yeah, but I love it. I do love reading more and more. It's very peaceful. I like it.
It is very peaceful, and I have always loved reading. My mom says that ever since I learned how to read, I didn't put the books down.
And sorry, go.
Well, I was just no, you go. I'll save mine.
No, I wanted to ask something about the books, but it just ran away from me. There was another thing I want to ask you. Do you have new glasses?
No, I don't.
thought that those ones are the new ones.
No, these aren't the new ones. I've had these for a year.
Okay.
But I have a new painting back there. You can you can't read. It is bears. Let's see. There you can
see who made it for you, or you just saw someone in the book?
Emery, who is one of my podcast conversation partners.
Okay.
So he's someone who I've also gotten to know through the Akimbo workshops, and he sent me this one. He gave it to me, and I actually just put it up yesterday. So I'm very happy about it.
Where he was sending it from?
The U.S.
Oh my God!
But it was rolled up, so I have. No. Otherwise, that would have cost thousands of dollars.
Yes.
No, it's in 2 pieces, and it was rolled up, so I got it.
It's really cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool. Yes. And it's awesome that's in your background that, when you talk with people can see it actually. Brilliant.
I need to see where I should put my pod studio now that I have this, because the beam in the middle kind of breaks it. So we'll see what to do about that.
Maybe you could actually take it from the wall and put it just rest it against that beam.
Nope. Because it's not. It is a wooden frame at the top and a wooden frame at the bottom. So it's not.
It's kind of hanging.
It's hanging.
It has to be hanging. Yeah. My brother, he is actually quite talented when it comes to painting and drawing, because he also was drawing with. Okay, I don't know if I will say it correctly in English. Maybe that's the professional term for using that tool, so I'm sorry if not. But like a call, they use call for how do you
we say kol in Swedish. But it is I don't know what it is, but it's basically it's carbon. That's what it is. It's a carbon.
Yeah, like carbon stick. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I don't know what the technical term is.
Yeah, no. I love how you said call in your language. Sounds beautiful.
Yeah,
really beautiful.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he's quite talented. Sometimes I think his work is a little bit creepy. But he's the person who doesn't really have social media. Doesn't have really anything like a website. Like I need to carry the pictures on my phone if I want to show to someone, because she's like, yeah, sometimes someone comes and say they like it, so I just sell it to them or I gift it to them. And yeah, he just loved it. He got into renovating furniture. So he gets find somewhere old furniture, takes it, renovates, and keeps for himself or sells it. So yeah.
So he's a creator. Do you deem yourself a creator?
Yeah, I guess creator. Yeah, creator more and more. Because and if you would ask me if like creative, if I'm a creative also person, creative, yeah, and I would say yes also, but less in. I was about to say less in artistic way, but I do photography, and it's usually portraits of some a little bit, I would say, crazy stuff, because I like recently, for example, we me and my partner, we created an outfit which looks like an outfit for a spaceman, because it's like really huge, and we made it from the blankets that are from the first aid kit, the one silver gold that you can put on the person warm up or cool down. So we stitched it together and put it on a friend of mine who she was in the past a model, and she has a really cool look on her face. And we took a lot of pictures in this outfit. The outfit is crazy because it has like a hoodie we made and the pants, and the hoodie has the actual hood, so you can put it on your head. But when you do it, the noise in it, the sound in it, is just crazy, because I tried it on myself, before I put it on the other person, and the noise is incredible. And
when you move about in it,
yeah. But she wasn't cold. That's good, I guess.
It was one of those warm-up blankets.
Exactly. So I do photography, and I try to be very creative with this. I do videography also. So I'm actually looking to change to the different camera, maybe something. I will try to find different one for recording videos in a better way. I generally like film, and especially when it's well done, and I like good films. So I guess when we go to more artistic way, I'm there also. Drawing, no, because I remember in the past when I was a little girl, I drew trees during autumn season, and when my brother saw that, he's like, what, what are those, like trees on fire or something like that? I was like, no trees on fire. That precisely was my face. I was very disappointed, and I remember since then drawing is not happening to me. So
it is, isn't it amazing how many stories are out there just like that, whether it be drawing or it be singing because somebody said you should better shut up.
I went through that too.
Exactly, and it's like, and it stays with you. I had a colleague who also said, he was 50. He was like, I don't sing, because he'd been told off when he was by the music teacher that you need to keep quiet. So since then he hadn't taken he hadn't sung a note.
But this is bad.
Isn't it bad?
Exactly. Look, because this is so. I guess if someone wouldn't tell me that, well, you should stop singing because you don't. I did that too. I play guitar and I try singing because I liked it. Okay, I perhaps did not sound great, but I guess no one sounds really great in the first moment.
No.
And I guess I would keep on trying. If someone wouldn't just come to me and like, yeah, no, no, you cannot think. Same with drawing. Perhaps I would use it for my advantage. Like, sometimes you can sit down and just draw to kind of calm down. And yeah, maybe I would do that by stabbed because I don't know, maybe it's also, I'm quite stubborn. So if I really want to go for something, I wouldn't stop. So I don't know what was that. If it was like, oh, okay, whatever, I don't have to do that anymore, or I don't know. Because, even though they told me that I shouldn't be singing, I still played guitar, and I don't remember any, like, negative comments about that when I was a little child, yeah. I wasn't super talented when it comes to playing on the guitar, but it was okay.
But I mean, that's
But it's
the thing.
bad. But it's bad.
It is bad.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
you remember the story about you and those trees that you made.
Yeah.
And maybe your brother does too because you're siblings and maybe you've told it. But chances are he has no clue he ever said anything of the sort.
Yeah.
Right?
Precisely.
So it is so easy to kind of let one of those judgments out. And then I've forgotten it, but it will stay in you like a little thorn for the rest of your life. And
Precisely.
it's like, maybe sure we've saved the world from a really bad artist or singer or drawer or whatever. But chances are really not.
No, and then again, what is bad, what is good, like, okay, we kind of agreed that telling someone, oh, you cannot sing or something, it's actually bad because it stays with you for a very long time. And as you said yourself, we probably wouldn't save the world from very bad singer or drawer or whatever. Yeah. So, like, and then when they create for one person, someone will love it and the other person will not like it, or will not feel the same about that, about the art. So yeah.
And I attended this really weird modern installation piece art at there's a performance art place in Malmö that's called Lilith Perception or Lilith Performance or whatever, Lilith. And I have a friend who usually attends what they do. I've never really done it, but she'd gotten tickets that she couldn't use, so she gave them to me.
Yeah.
And it was 5 installations, just mind-blowingly weird. Just weird. Like there's
at least
actors in each of these 5 installations, and there was one that was so they had done a bathroom. There was a bathtub, a sink, and a toilet, and like tiled floor and walls, right?
Yeah.
And that artist had found a PhD study of what are the moves that people make when they are cleaning their bathroom, and had made a choreography of these moves. So there was a dancer like doing the cleaning based on these moves. And just
bizarre things.
Things. And it was so interesting because one, I can tell it was interesting. Did I enjoy it? I'm not sure I enjoyed it. Is it like I need to go see this again? No, I don't. Will I buy tickets by myself? Maybe, because it is kind of so on the edge, right? It is so But you had these 5 installations down in a basement, and there were people like sitting on the floor watching these weird things going on in these 5 stations or whatever you would call it. And I'm going, because it is tankespan. That is really truly tankespan for me, because this is different. So it just starts up all of these questions, like, how do you ever come up with the idea to make a choreographed dance from a PhD thesis on how you clean bathrooms? It's like,
yes, precisely.
Mind blown. How? It's like,
Exactly.
But it is, and at the same time, it's like, I'm so happy that somebody actually did.
Yes.
Right? And somebody took the time to make this place where you could do these things, because it does push the boundaries.
Yes.
It does, stretch us, society, culture, art.
Exactly.
Like making what we now see as mainstream. Well, that was avant-garde one time, right?
Yeah. Like two things. When you were talking about it, I had 2 things in my mind. And one thing is what I do with RedCheeks. So I feel like I kind of push and stretch, in some cases, I push and stretch people's mind, because they're like, how on earth? Yes, like I don't know if I told you this already, but when I sent the podcast to one of my friends, she messaged me thanking me that I sent her a podcast on whom I'm interviewing a sex worker, and she's like, I have never thought that these people, they do it actually because they want to do it. And the questions you asked, they were like, I would never ask someone something like this, and you did, and I learned so much that I even sent this to my boyfriend or partner so he can listen, so he can learn something from it. And I was like, yes, that's what it should do, And as you say, stretch people to different directions so they can broaden their perspective. I guess, like
Precisely.
yeah. I recently was having a podcast with a woman from Spain, and we talked about gender fluidity. For me, like that's still like very like I don't know much about this topic, because when I was growing up and in my late 20s, that still wasn't a thing. It just showed up. So I was able to talk with her and see how was it for her, because she's younger, she's from different year, and yeah, so I broadened my perspective on this certain specific topic. But the other thing what I wanted to tell you was that recently I was in Amsterdam in on an event, which for me also like why like I mean I found it interesting, yes, but it's also this approach like, oh my gosh, who would even think that something like this can be organized? And that was on a lot about intimacy, sex. There was like even there was a performer, and she says that what she noticed that people really like to watch her when she's cleaning her house, clothed. So she puts like a lot of like short mini, long boots. Sometimes she looks like from, let's say, 80s, 70s, And she cleans her house and she sells those clips. And so obviously people pay for it. I was like, bizarre. But if it works for you,
whatever floats your boat.
Exactly, whatever floats your boat. That's like there were really fascinating things happening there. Like at some point I was walking to one of the spaces there. It was like sort of like a how you say this, glass house. Yes, is it glass house or greenhouse? The
greenhouse.
Greenhouse. Yeah. So it was like a greenhouse, but in the middle there was jacuzzi, And there was a woman sitting in that jacuzzi, and together with her was sitting a man, and he was interviewing him in this jacuzzi. I suspect what has happened there. He was one of the people watching what is happening. It's like, would you like to talk with me, please?
Join
Take off
me.
your clothes and join me. I was like, these are really cool, you know. So I don't go often to events like this, and I feel like sometimes I should go more often. Mm.
Yeah, it is that. It is a good way to get yourself a dose of Tankespel, right? But I'm so because I was wondering when I asked you about if you were a creator, if you would bring up RedCheeks.
Yeah, so there was also another thing what I wanted to say that because I'm leaving the job that where I was working in the past, and I feel like now I will be working for myself, and I feel like I have so much this creative freedom, and RedCheeks is one of those things. Though I started creating it while I was still working in this other work, but like I came up with this because I felt like I need to create something what puts me a little bit out of the comfort zone because I didn't I never thought I would do podcasts. Like I didn't see myself doing this, though I really like podcasts. I never thought that I will write something as I did there. I feel like, it gives me a lot of power to be able to create those things. And I really like it. I really like, even if something doesn't work out, I really like the fact that I was able to create something.
So why did you name it RedCheeks? Can you just, in a sentence, say what it is?
Yes. So RedCheeks, it's a platform where I interview people from adult industry, mostly from adult industry, but I also interview people from mainstream cinema on the topic of intimacy. Um, and I also write different articles on the topic of intimacy, especially intimacy on set.
So when recording the movies, the adult movies,
yes, yes, that intimacy.
So is the RedCheeks name because you can get RedCheeks and embarrassed?
That's also.
Because it is a topic that can make you go,
ooh,
right?
Yeah.
RedCheeks.
Well, this name actually was invented by my partner. He's a very creative person, and he sit down with me one day and we started like brainstorming and everything, and that was one of the names he wrote. I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. That's the one. And we checked, it was available on .org. So we got this one and we started doing all around this, and I'm super happy about this, and I'm super excited for the things to come because I started saying, oh, sorry, maybe if you have a question, go ahead and ask because I started like unfolding.
Unfold. That's the whole purpose of these conversations, for you to unfold or for us to unfold.
And so with intimacy on set, like I know there is such a role, mostly in the mainstream cinema. But what I also have heard is that those people from the mainstream cinema, I'm not saying all of them, but I have heard that many of them are closing their doors, knowledge, and any connection as soon as they hear that someone works with adult films. And so they're closing those doors. But at the end of the day, we are there to protect, to save, to to keep safe people on the set. Yes, and it doesn't really matter like what genre. It's about the people.
And I would kind of, you know, the story around adult film is like that, you know, everybody is used and don't want to do it, and you know, and I'm sure that like everywhere else, it's an entire spectrum, and you have people who really don't want to do it, and you have people who love doing it, right? You have the entire spectrum, but it's a given. If you enter this genre, yeah, you will be naked. You will be engaged in intimate acts, sexual acts. You know, that's what you do. Yeah. If you're a mainstream movie, like you say, if you're a mainstream actor or actress, you don't necessarily know if there will be a love scene, if there will be nudity or not.
You know, like
they know when they read a script.
Yeah.
They don't know when they go into acting that this will definitely be a part of my acting career, because you don't know. I mean, there's probably a lot of actors who've never stripped.
Yeah.
And then there's those who have in the mainstream. So I'm just thinking that because it's not a given, the conversations around it aren't had, or are had less often, or less skillfully, because it's, you know, it's like, well, this is just the love scene, and it's just one out of 100 scenes that we're shooting, and so we just do it the same way that we would be doing any scene, and not really thinking about the fact that trip in a tent when there's I don't know how many people around you, that might make some people quite uncomfortable, right?
Precisely. You know, so it makes it's such a vulnerable. Can you just say
vulnerable?
That word? Thank you
vulnerable.
Very much. You did much better on this one. Situation that it's very, very personal, and you know, like, it's a good comparison that on mainstream films, whether you have stance coordinators when they do like action shots, sometimes there are stunts and there is a coordinator for this to safeguard the scene, to ensure everything is done correctly, and that there is no like injuries. Yes, they're trying to prevent those injuries. But those are physical injuries. With intimate scenes, the injury may not be only physical, but will be definitely mental. And those injuries, they stay for so long. I mean, not to say that some physical injuries don't, but that the
it
mental
is like being told that your drawing really sucks.
Yes,
that is
exactly.
That is also a vulnerable moment, and you're given a mental wound, something, you know, words that actually lodge in you in that way.
And
right?
you know, like, you said something that in adult industry is given, that, well, you will have this intimate interaction with someone, you will be naked or topless or something, and yes, it's given, though still people manage to abuse the boundaries and find a way. So I think in both places, regardless the genre or type of media, we should definitely safeguard the performers, we all actors. We should talk about boundaries, we should talk about consent, but we also mediate between the performers and the director or production team, because you know they have certain goal in their head, yes. And as long as we are all on the same page, as long as we explain everything to the actors or performers before and they are aware of it, and it's the real information and they agreed to it, and maybe some things were discussed or adjusted, you know, like, if all this was discussed, that's fine. But when there are the unexpected situations happening on the set, and then you bring to another human being and say, okay, so we thought about something cool and new, so now we're going to perform this explicit act additionally. It's not like someone asks you if you're okay with that, if you're comfortable with this. maybe ask some additional questions about the actual explicitness of the act, because I would say there are different levels to each explicit act. If no one explains you this, if someone just drops it on you, and you may say yes, and then you will regret that. Because there is a lot of pressure on a person, or on the person, on like performers or actors, when the director tells them, we change our plan, we would like to add this, or you actually won't be wearing a t-shirt today, you will be completely naked because we want to film your back, but from in front of you there are other people, you getting naked in front of the entire crew. This person will say yes, because actors are taught to say yes to everything, and I think that's bad. Performers will also say yes because they don't want to lose the job. They don't want to say
you
no.
Feel pressured.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But I think it's the role is yes to protect and safeguard the actors, the performers, but also to mediate between the director and the performers, because you don't want the director to see you like an enemy or someone who will make their life on set difficult or their job difficult. So it's about finding balance, also. Yeah.
I mean, I can see how there's, in all cinema made, this could be a topic that there would be worth having these types of conversations, bringing in these types of questions, and how do we safeguard this? How do we ensure that we're not pressuring somebody? But in general, I would say this is valid for all of us, because we're human, right? Because we're human.
Exactly.
It's like there's no interaction where there's not the possibility of vulnerability, and where there's not the possibility of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of those things. And it's that intimacy 101, like day to day, whenever you are with your partner, like all the conversation about boundaries, establishing those boundaries, understanding each other, what one person likes and what the other doesn't like, and actually being okay when you hear that someone doesn't like something, that someone says no to you, being okay with that, and trying to find other ways to actually find a common ground when it comes to intimate contacts, relationships. And again, when we talk about intimacy, it's not only like penetrative sex. It's not only kissing. No, it's more. It's close distance. It's even handshake. It's a hug. It's a conversation also, intimate conversation.
Yeah, it is so much more than. And I mean, I actually spoke to Mike, whom you've met, about this in one of our conversations about how intimacy has kind of been kidnapped by, or kidnapped into be, there's intimacy equals sex. It's like, no, no, there's so much more to intimacy. And when you were saying, I was thinking about a friend whose mom hasn't told her that there's this one dish that my friend makes, and her mom says, it's yummy, but she thinks it's too spicy for her. But she hasn't dared say that. So here's an act of intimacy, you can say, that is not taking place because she's afraid of what will happen because then she will be upset, and it just takes all of these weird forms instead of just, and I really enjoy that you cooked for me. I think it's a bit spicy for my taste. Just being able to say that is courageous, because we have in so many ways been drilled down into not voicing our needs, our desires, our wishes, our likes.
And this will accumulate in a person, in a relationship, and one day it will explode, and that will be very, very bad and possibly very too late.
Yeah.
And people need, like, my recent guest on the podcast, it's not yet released, but she said that because she's teaching, she with her clients, she talks about the boundaries, about consent, and sometimes she tries to help them figure out what gives them pleasure. It's kind of like a therapy, but not only with words, but also with touch. She explains this much better than me, but she does this, and she says a lot of those things that the people learn in her workshops or in her one-on-one sessions, later this helps them in other areas of their life. Because this like, when you learn to say no to something, when you learn to talk about your boundaries, then if you are able to talk about this within intimate situation, intimate area, it will translate to other things in life.
Yep.
Oh, and conversation, like, sometimes I see people do not talk, like, they speak the same language, but it feels like, when they talk, I'm like, you're on two complete different planets right now. And you're both right. You just have to find a way to communicate this.
Yeah. There's a Swedish lady called Maria Appelqvist, I think, who has she took a PhD in, well, I don't really know her story. I just know that, she's been in management and this, that, and the other thing, and then she started to explore BDSM and all of those. I would say still on the fringe of what is deemed normal sex life or sex desires or whatever, but she actually, I think, then studied that. So she did her PhD on this and also interviewed a number of people who are into this scene, who are, they're CEOs and multi-billionaires and this, that, and the other thing. Is like there's a lot of there's the bank teller and there's the bank director and there's, it's like people from all walks of life, right? But what the common denominator that she could fetch from all of them was just this: me having learned how to say yes and no, man, it is valid in all areas of my life. I am a much better leader. I'm a much better boss. I'm a much better employer. I'm a much better mom, because I know and I feel safe in expressing my yeses and my nos. And I go, oh my God, do I ever need that type of training? Because it is just that thing, saying yes when I'm a yes, saying no when I'm a no. And I've lived a lot of my life saying yes when I'm a no, and saying no when I'm a yes.
Yes,
right?
Precisely. I did the same. I did exactly the same. And it was learning process for me. And sometimes I still, like I'm still learning, yes. So sometimes, it takes me a little bit more time for my brain to process if it's actually a yes or no. Do I really want that? It's sometimes harder, and some other days easier. But the fact that you're aware of it, that you have a choice, it's your choice. Don't blame anyone else for it. It's you have to know what you want and you choosing. And when you know this, it's kind of a relief, That's your choice. I choose to do this. I choose to do that. No, I have to. I choose to. Yeah. And then you will be able to establish your boundaries, I guess, a little bit easier. And I think when you cannot implement it directly 100%. It's step-by-step learning process, It's like when you're with your partner and you want to know how they feel, like keep asking them after intimate time together, maybe later in the evening, just talk to the partner and it's like, how did you like that? And do you prefer more of this or less of this? How did it feel when, I don't know, I play with your hair? Some people may not like it. I love it. Do it all the time. But I know people who would scream if I would touch their hair, you know?
Yeah.
So there are so many different things, and it's okay to ask those things. It's really okay because the better you know each other, the less you have to guess. And yeah, I agree that there is a little bit excitement in this unknown territory. But I guess there are different ways to explore it, like you can explore an intensity of touch, like some people like to be like, let's say someone like to be touched on the head, so then you can explore how exactly, yes. So, okay, you know that they like this place to be touched, but how? See how they react in different situations. Explore this. And same with conversation, explore it, dive deep into it. Because if you shallowly go, okay, do you like when I touch your hair? Let's stay with the hair today. We're not going to move to any body part. And they say like, yes, okay, great. Then let's do that. And they start pulling, I don't know, brushing your head, or I don't know, doing something crazy with your head. I wouldn't like that. That's not the touch I like. So it all goes to dive deep into it, being really asking questions from a place of curiosity,
and getting detailed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Or saying, I actually don't know. Would you mind touching my hair in different ways?
Exactly.
And then I will tell you. Right?
Exactly. Precisely.
It's like,
let's do it together.
That's soft. Really.
Yeah.
Or, when you kind of, do that.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely, right?
We actually, again, there is an exercise with a touch of the hand. And then for a few minutes, someone is touching your hand in different ways, and they may pull for the skin, they may pull deeper, stronger, or less strong. And then they watch you while they do this, and they observe your face expression. They ask you, like, how is that? And then you say, yes, okay, or maybe I like it a little bit more, I like it less. But they start on the hand because it's a very neutral place, Like if they would start, let's say, on the breast, let's move to a different body part. On the breast, that's very intimate, and that person may not be yet ready for that. But I think those days, like, especially when it comes to, well, no, not only relationships, I think a lot of things in life, we just want to quick. We just want to, like, ideally someone would give us a manual about the other person. We would read that and like, okay,
we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. But the whole beauty is in discovering all these things, discovering the person you are with, talking with them, diving deep, as you said yourself, and just exploring things together. In one of the podcasts, like I ask one of my guests like about stagnation in relationships. Sometimes people are like, oh, like, okay, so that's it. Like it was exciting in the beginning, butterflies and everything, and now that's it. And he said to try different things, to just try it. You both may not like it. One may like it, the other one may not. And also when you introduce like, soft or lighter BDSM, like even if it's like holding someone a little bit stronger, or even if someone gently pulls for the hair, something like this. Talk about this and do it step by step. Don't dive to crazy kinks and fetishes
immediately.
What session. So it's I would say it's ability to talk, ability to be curious about another person, about yourself also, about your own pleasure. Find out what actually you like.
And And also kind of knowing that maybe you and me, we've talked about, so you know precisely how I want my hair touched, and I know precisely how you want your hair touched. But today I come home and I have a headache, and you start to touch my hair in the way that you know that I usually like. But today it's painful, it's awful, I just don't want it at all, right? So also having that type of kind of awareness that just because you've figured out this is in general what Helena likes, but doesn't mean that I always like that I always want that, and that has nothing to do with you. That has to do with me, so that I can say, thank you, sweetie, but today, I really don't want to have my hair touched.
Yeah, and you know what's that? That's the ongoing conversation about consent. Because what we forget is that once someone said something, they think that this will apply for the entire life. No, this is an consent is an ongoing conversation, and we should have this conversation often. Generous toward each other, curious, and sorry, just to say this, like on the set, like with adult films, like sometimes you will have a checklist to tick off boxes what the performer consents to, and they go with it. But no one like thinks like, okay, let's have a discussion just before we actually start rolling.
Today, now, here.
Exactly. Are you okay with this?
And I would say the ongoing conversation about consent between partners, absolutely between friends, between parent and child, but also between me and me.
Exactly.
Because just because, I do cold bathing. So if I yesterday could be down in, freezing water for 5 minutes, I should be able to do the same today. But maybe I didn't sleep. Maybe I've just had dinner. Maybe whatever, Maybe today I can only do half a minute.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So needing to, find my yeses and nos also for me in my relationship with me is as important. And that is the basis of me being able to be true to my yeses and nos in relation with others.
Yeah.
Right? So
precisely.
Just, do I want, I always have a cup of coffee in the morning, but do you want it? Today maybe you don't want it.
You need to know yourself before you just start knowing other people. Yeah. You have to have this like inner conversation with yourself sometimes. Well, sometimes, often, I would say. As often as you talk with other people. Maybe even more often.
Yeah. Maybe even more often.
Yeah. Have this, find out what you like, what's like I have a new rule, and it's like, is it hell yes? And if it's not hell yes, that's no go at all.
It's a no.
It's completely no. It's like not maybe. No, it's yes. Like that's why I think how I think about this. When I struggle to know, like, would I be yes or would I be no here? And then I have a moment like, is it hell yes? If yes, then that's 100% yes, and go with it. So sometimes it can be hard. It can be hard to establish boundaries. Because I think we are tempted to so many things. We are curious, and it's perfectly fine to be curious. Just I think discovering those things slowly, giving yourself time to discover things. It's how it should happen. It cannot be abrupt. It cannot be harmful. Just give yourself time, step by step. So when you reach the limit, you can take this one little step back.
And also kind of knowing that if I'm not a hell yes today, then it's a no. Same thing there. That doesn't mean necessarily that that's a no forever.
Yeah.
Tomorrow might be a hell yes, or a little bit more towards yes, but still a no. And the day after, it's like, so it can be that 3 months down the road, I'm a hell yes for that thing that I was a complete no to today. So again, being in that flow of of or actually being in the moment, I guess. You know?
Being in the moment, precisely. Precisely. And you know what? It's I think it was said Godin. I don't remember who said that, but it was also about like being in the moment and things change in your life. And today you have certain information, and based on this information, you make this decision. In 2 days, you may have completely different information. You may have much more information, and you will change your mind, and that's fine. Because I hear often people say that, well, if you stand for this, you have to stand for this, and that's it. You cannot you shouldn't be changing your mind. Like I keep on learning new things every day. I'm allowed to change my mind later on, and that's totally fine. Let's not feel guilty about this. That's actually very good because it means that you keep working on a certain thing. You keep thinking about this. You keep growing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the thicknesses of the society that we live in, that it somehow has become deemed bad to change your mind.
Yeah.
So you know, politicians, you find out something about their past, and because they thought that or said that, then they are, you know, doomed forever. And it's like,
yes,
it's really not a cultural climate that I want to live in. That's not how because I've done and thought and said and believed a lot of dumb shit. Right?
Yeah,
So does that mean that I'm forever like bound to those things? There's no way to change my mind. It's just, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was like this. I was like, okay, I made that decision. I was afraid to change my mind. Did you get that? I was like afraid to change my mind, even though I knew that this is the right thing, because at that point I'm making a different decision. We are in different point in time, in different moment. I have different information entering my brain. It's okay. So for me, it took time to adjust how I think about this and to be actually okay with changing my mind.
So what was the spark that made that difference?
I think a lot. I don't know. It's just at certain point you just start growing and I don't know. Some time ago it just clicked in my head. I cannot pinpoint the time when it like there was a switch.
There wasn't a switch, an on off.
No, it
thing.
was like
It's
growing,
a gradual
growing.
slope.
And I think the time when I did the Alt MBA and also with my partner, like the conversation is on completely different level. And we talk about things like this. And I think being in this relationship, it kind of helped me in this regard, helped me into that, okay, it's okay to change the mind. So I would say a lot of things came together. I think where now I'm quite confident with changing my mind, setting up my boundaries, understanding what is today hell yes and what is hell yes tomorrow.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And it must make a difference for the people around you too.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Like, if you know what you want, you know more about yourself, how you feel about yourself. People will say it from outside. There will be certain of I don't know if I would call it confidence or like a spark in a person, and people from outside will see it. It's the way you behave every day. Because person who knows themselves, I think they will be more generous to others. They will know how to communicate, and the other people will appreciate this communication. You know, like they will confidently and in a very nice way say, no, that's not what I would like to do. And oh my God, I so much appreciate people like this because I really don't like to, like, sometimes I feel I have to make decisions for someone else because they're saying, I don't know, but this, but that. And, you know, I guess
That's
it's
a
better.
no.
That's a no.
That's a no.
Go the
Sorry,
hell
but
yes.
that's a no. Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's interesting how those two small words, yes and no, can just trip me up and trip us up a whole lot. And I remember I did, I have a friend, Charlotte Kronqvist. She does playful tantra, which in Swedish is called lekfull tantra, which is a lovely introduction into this thing that also still, she says that in 10, 15 years, tantra will be where yoga is today. Because yoga was 20 years ago is like, that's some weird shit, right? But so she says it's on that slope. But she did, we did play with, we were paired up. I did a weekend workshop, and we were paired up, and we were asked to play with each other's arm. So it was the arm, and he was like, it was my turn, and I was to say to the one that I was paired up with what I want him or her to do with my arm. And I'm going, I don't know what the fuck I want anybody to do with my arm. What can you do with, so I was kind of locked already there. It's like, what would be nice? I don't know. Right?
We sometimes don't know about ourselves.
Precisely. Like, my God, there's a lot to find out because there can be some nice touch going on with an arm, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But it was like, and it was one of the beginning exercises, which was good because it was just enough to just give me this jolt that I don't know what I would like. Would I just like you to gently touch it, or would I like a massage, or, what do I want?
But then you go, I don't know. Let's discover together.
Yeah,
Precisely. So it
is. Yeah. So much to discover.
No,
Like,
it
it
feels,
doesn't end.
yes, and it feels so good. It feels so good to dive deeper into yourself and into relationship or ships, depends like how you do it. It feels so good.
Yeah.